Since their advent in the 50s in the form of Tennis for Two, video games have enraptured millions around the world. Games such as Super Mario Bros. Revealed the huge potential for the video game industry. Originally released on the Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Mario Bros. Has sold over 40 million copies. In response to Nintendo's success, companies such as Sega, Sony, and Microsoft began to compete for supremacy in the growing video game industry. Today, video games are lifelike and complex. Long gone are the days of simple arcade games. New physics and graphics can create fantastic worlds for players to immerse themselves in. Blizzard's online computer game, World of Warcraft, has over 11.5 million subscribers and accumulates $800 million in revenue per year. Infinity Ward's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 sold $400 million on the release date alone. The increasing presence of video games in the consumer environment has attracted newfound attention, as well as scrutiny. Many of the most popular video games include violence and combat. These games, such as the Call of Duty franchise, as well as many others, have been criticized for their violent content. The effect of violent video games have been the subject of many legal struggles over the past 3 decades. Jack Thompson is one of the leading activists against violence in video games. He's insistent that video games are training people to become killers.
What's the problem?
What we need is wage controls on the executives of video game companies like Strauss Zelnick of Take-Two. He should be relegated by Congress to an annual salary of $3.
And they had no real evidence that the shooter, and that's what we can call him now, Cho Seung Wee, was one of these kids involved with that sort of game.
Well, in fact, the Washington Post today, as you know, reported that his high school friends or his associates said he was immersed incredibly in the video game, the computer-based game Counter-Strike.
Tell me about Counter-Strike, because it's a strong theory of yours. What is it?
Well, it's not just a theory.
Well, it's a theory that it had something to do with this case.
That's right. His own suite mates in Blacksburg said that he was on the computer all the time. He wasn't downloading music. He was playing this game. Chris,
that's not what we just heard. Wait, we just talked to one of his suite mates who said when he looked on the screen, he said he just saw him writing linear English, just writing apparently essays or plays or something. When is the most recent testimony, and when does it apply to that he was involved with Counter-Strike, the video game? The Cho was.
Cho? His high school friends, and typically...
Okay, well, he's a fourth-year student at Virginia Tech.
This was all a game for this guy. It was a body count game.
You don't know that, though.
I know it from what other school shooters have done. I've represented the parents in Paducah.
Right, but you are projecting other cases onto this case. You're projecting what he was doing 4 or 5 years ago onto what he was doing this weekend.
Chris, the forensic fact is that the coolness with which he was able to pull this off.
Do you think that violent video games make people violent?
Yeah, definitely, because like playing the games with all the violence, it like turns people into like kind of like animals and like.
Do you think that it can make people like violent?
Yes, that's what I said.
Do you know people that have become violent because of games?
No, not personally.
Okay.
Maybe Miles.
Do you play violent video games?
I personally do not play violent video games, but I know some people who do, and I know that they've grown up and can have violent attributes.
Like what?
But I've never really played any of like the shooting ones or anything. Hitting, punching, kicking, twisting.
Do you play violent video games?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yes, I do indeed. Yeah. Yes, I do play violent video games.
Which ones?
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty.
A little bit of Modern Warfare 3. And Halo. Halo. Halo 3, Halo Reach. Skyrim.
Do you think that playing violent games makes people violent?
Well, as you can see, I'm a very violent person. So yes, I do. I would not say that. I know a lot of people who are very nice and play violent video games. I think the violence comes from somewhere else, and I think playing violent video games actually reduces the likelihood that you will be violent because you're taking out frustrations and maybe social anger out on something else rather than other people.
Well, from every study I've read, with teenagers at least, there's really, like, I haven't heard of any correlation between violent video games and any, like, violent occurrences. If anything, like, the only studies I actually have heard is that the violent video games keep the kids off the streets where they commit real violence.
Oh, I think violent people there's a deeper problem than just video games. Generally, when kids, I mean, you got all these kids playing video games that are violent, you know, they'll maybe see like one in like 10,000 or some random figure that will do something crazy.
No, I think that's just like sort of a myth. It's just people kind of want to get a link to why some kids are just naturally violent when it probably comes from like sources at the home where their home is just like pretty naturally violent.
In almost every case, no.
Why do you think that is?
I think that most people are intelligent enough to distinguish fact from fiction and to not be influenced by obvious pieces of, non-factual media. I think that no more than watching an R-rated movie will make an average student shoot up a school. Playing a game of Call of Duty won't do the same.